The stage glows with golden light as Jimmy Kimmel steps out. The band strikes its opening chords, a familiar beat that sends the crowd cheering. From behind the curtain, Jimmy Kimmel walks forward, shoulders squared, smile sharp, every bit the man who commands this space. The applause surges, a wave of laughter and shouts wrapping around him like a shield. He waves for quiet, but his gleaming eyes show he's ready for a fight. "Tonight," he says, voice smooth and easy, "we've got the one and only Seth Meyers here." The audience roars again. He lets the sound hang before smirking. "Yeah, I know. You see him too." Seth Meyers strolls onto the stage with that calm, knowing grin of his, polished, quick, charming without trying too hard. Two giants of late-night TV, standing face to face under a single spotlight. The air buzzes with friendly rivalry, though nobody says it yet. Jimmy reaches out, the handshake fast, firm. Seth's grip matches it, strong, polite, sure. "Good to see you, man," Jimmy says, his voice warm with showbiz charm. "You too," Seth replies. "Thanks for having me on your stage." The crowd chuckles, catching the subtle edge. They always do. They sit. The set shines behind them in deep red and blue, a calm ocean before a tempest. Jimmy leans in, elbows on his desk. "So, you're here in Los Angeles. What's the reason?" "Just visiting old pals," Seth nods. "Yeah, that and, the Emmys are near." "The Emmys," Jimmy repeats, his tone light but with a hint of sarcasm. "Right? The thing we both act like we don't care about." Laughter ripples through the room. Seth laughs, brushing imaginary lint from his sleeve. "Exactly. You pretend it's nothing until it matters." The talk flows smoothly, both men tossing quips like skilled swordsmen. They chat about press tours, campaign interviews, the silliness of Emmy season. On the surface, it's light, fun, safe. But beneath the laughs, something else sparks. Two performers gouging each other, testing the waters, wondering how far the other will push. Jimmy shifts in his seat, his smile tightening just a touch. "Isn't it a bit weird," he asks, voice smooth as honey, "that you're on my show to boost your Emmy nomination?" The audience gasps, then bursts into laughter. Seth's face stays still for a moment. The noise fades, leaving only the hum of stage lights. He tilts his head slightly, eyes sharp and bright, the kind of look that says, "I know exactly what you're up to." Jimmy grins wider, playing innocent, but there's a glint of challenge in his eyes. The tension is almost hidden, woven between them like a live wire. The camera zooms closer, catching the slight twitch at Seth's mouth. A controlled smile, the calm before a comeback. He leans back, crossing one leg over the other, relaxed as if he's already seen the next page of the script. The laughter returns, but the room feels different now. The warmth remains, but underneath, the air crackles. The war hasn't begun yet, but everyone senses it's coming. Seth chuckles, leaning back in his chair like the easiest guest ever. But there's something in his laugh, a spark that catches the studio lights. Mischief, strategy. He turns to Jimmy, voice smooth as silk. "Yeah," he says, grinning. "It's a bit like CNN airing ads for Fox News." The crowd erupts, laughter rolling like a tide. For a moment, it feels light again, playful, clever, the way talk shows are meant to feel. But Jimmy's eyes narrow just a fraction, the corners tightening. He doesn't miss a beat. "No," he shoots back, letting the smile linger. "You're Newsmax." Another burst of laughter, louder, charged with something electric. The crowd isn't sure if they're laughing with Seth or at him, and that uncertainty gives the moment its bite. The soundboard catches the whoops and gasps, the way live TV thrives on awkwardness dressed as humor. The camera sweeps across the audience, some faces grinning, others caught mid-laugh, unsure of what they're seeing. It's a joke, of course. It's always a joke, but every joke hides a sliver of truth, and everyone in the room feels it. Jimmy sits taller, his grin widening like a poker player revealing his first card. Seth's laughter softens, his gaze sharpens. The air shifts, subtle but clear. The playful tone cracks just enough to show what's beneath. A test of power, a duel wrapped in comedy. Whoever gets the laugh owns the stage, and both know it. Jimmy taps the desk lightly, a rhythm only he hears. "Well," he says, voice cool, "maybe we should show folks what we're really talking about." Seth raises an eyebrow.
"Oh."
Jimmy's smile grows. "Yeah, for clarity." The audience chuckles again, but it's thinner now, curious rather than cozy. Seth leans forward, tilting his head like he's reading Jimmy's thoughts. The room tightens around them, lights brighter, silence heavier. The band sits still, waiting. Jimmy signals the control booth. Let's take a look, he says, his tone casually deceptive. Behind him, the giant screen flickers on. A low hum rises from the monitors as the first frame appears. White text on black, mock, serious, cinematic. Then a voice-over, deep and grim. Real late-night hosts wear suits and ties. The crowd laughs instantly, startled, thrilled. On screen, images flash. Jimmy smiling at his desk. Seth in his laid-back studio setup. You know who else never wore a tie? The narrator pauses. Osama bin Laden. The laughter now is louder, uneasy, rippling with shock. Seth's mouth opens slightly, faking surprise, but his eyes show amusement. Jimmy watches him closely, lips twitching with satisfaction. The room is his again, or so he thinks. The voice overlands the punchline. Seth Meyers wears nephew clothes. Should that win an Emmy? In what category? Getting drunk on the job. Tell Seth Meyers to join Alcoholics Al-Qaeda. I'm Jimmy Kimmel, and I approve this message. The audience erupts, half cheering, half gasping. Jimmy sits back, triumphant, soaking in the chaos he's unleashed. Seth's laughter joins theirs, slow and real, but there's a quiet spark in his eyes, something sharp, waiting. The laughter fades into applause. Jimmy grins, the master of the moment. But as the lights dim slightly and the screen goes dark, a different kind of silence creeps in. A storm, still unseen, building behind Seth's calm smile. Then a faint click sounds. The monitor flares back to life. Words appear like a challenge, real late. Night hosts wear ties. The fake campaign ad booms through the studio speakers. A comedic grenade wrapped in laughter. The crowd howls as the voice overcuts deep, each line sharper than the last. Seth Meyers doesn't wear ties. You know who else didn't? Osama bin Laden. The audience gasps, then laughs so loud it shakes the cameras. It's the kind of laugh born from shock, half disbelief, half delight at Jimmy's daring. On screen, images flash. Seth's face frozen mid-laugh, grainy, overexposed, like footage used to vilify politicians. Tell Seth Meyers to join Alcoholics Al-Qaeda. The narrator growls as a mock American flag waves behind the words. The laughter is explosive, bouncing off the studio walls. You hear clapping, whistles, a few gasps turning into giggles. The camera pans to Seth. He's smiling too calmly, lips curled upward, but his eyes stay still. A stillness that reads less as amusement and more as calculation. He lets the laughter roll, lets it wash over him, each beat sharpening the blade he's about to wield. Jimmy watches from his desk, leaning back like a king who's just claimed a throne. He laughs along, head tilted, basking in the crowd's roar. For a brief, shining moment, he seems untouchable. The voice over ends with its punchline, I'm Jimmy Kimmel, and I approve this message. The audience gives a mock cheer, half in on the joke, half stunned at its sharp humor. Jimmy spreads his hands, innocent, proud, loving every second. Wow, he says over the noise, faking modesty. I don't know how that got in there. The crowd roars again. It's his show, his laugh, for now. Seth takes his time. He glances at the screen as it fades to black, picks up the water glass on the table, and sips slowly. He sets it down, leans forward just a bit, voice calm, even. That's definitely not a clip from my show. The audience laughs again, a little nervous this time, shorter, sharper, like they're testing the air to see which side to back. Jimmy smirks, sensing he's still got them. No, he says lightly. You sure? Seth's smile widens just a touch. But there's something dangerous behind it. The look of a man ready to stop playing defense. He glances at the monitor, as if sizing up its power, like a swordsman studying an opponent's blade, before drawing his own. The studio lights seem to glow brighter, or maybe it's just the shift in energy. Suddenly, everyone's waiting for Seth's next move. The laughter trails off, leaving a low hum in the air, that charged silence before something big happens. Jimmy leans back, still acting like it's all fun. But there's a tiny flicker in his eyes. Awareness. He knows the rhythm of this game, knows every duel has a counterstrike. But knowing doesn't mean you can stop it. Seth straightens slowly, smooths his jacket, and meets Jimmy's eyes with a calm that quiets the crowd without them knowing why. I figured this might happen, he says softly, just loud enough for the mic to catch. The words hang, light as a whisper, heavy as a threat. The crowd exhales, laughter lingering at the edges, but not fully returning. Seth's tone is polite, playful, but it carries a promise. The storm he's about to unleash won't be a joke. Jimmy chuckles, but it's the sound of someone holding ground. The cameras pull tighter. The air feels thinner. The audience senses it before anyone speaks. The game has shifted, and for the first time tonight, Jimmy doesn't own the stage. The lights dim for a second, a heartbeat of silence stretching between them. Then the giant screen behind the desk flickers back on, colors bleeding across the dark set. The crowd quiets, expecting another of Jimmy's jabs, another late-night bit. But the music that follows isn't his, darker, heavier, almost cinematic. Seth's voice cuts through, calm and razor-sharp. Jimmy Kimmel uses forced foreign labor. The line lands like a bomb. The audience erupts, laughter wild and confused, unsure if they can believe what they heard. On screen, the visuals roll in a fake documentary style. Grainy footage of Jimmy laughing too hard, holding a coffee mug that looks suspicious. Then Seth's voice returns, smooth, deadly in its timing. Jimmy kidnapped me from Mexico. Jimmy's head snaps toward the monitor, eyebrows rising, his grin faltering for the first time. The crowd's laughter doubles, feeding on his reaction. Someone in the front row claps mid-laugh, and he's been torturing me ever since. The video cuts to a shaky shot of Seth tied to a chair, fake bruises painted on as a snake slithers by his feet. The audience loses it, pure chaos, laughter echoing off the rafters. The energy flips, reversed from moments ago. Seth's voice over-delivers the final blow. Jimmy Kimmel, human trafficker, murderer. I'm Seth Meyers, and I'm not a murderer. The screen goes dark. The applause is instant, thunderous, rolling through the studio like a standing ovation. Seth sits still, hands folded neatly, a quiet smile on his lips. For the first time, he isn't laughing along, he lets the crowd do it for him. Jimmy leans back, blinking, shock lingering on his face before he forces a grin. "Oh, wow," he says, nodding slowly. "Okay, you brought some production value." The crowd laughs again, loving it. He taps his pen on the desk, a nervous rhythm masked as amusement. "You mess with the devil, you get the horns." Seth turns to him, smile steady, tone even, cutting through the noise. "Then let's dance, devil." The audience reacts instantly, half gasp, half cheer. A line delivered as both challenge and warning. The laughter that follows is charged, expectant. The tension is no longer subtle, it's alive, sparking between them like static. Jimmy laughs again, louder, the kind of laugh used to refuse backing down. But his fingers drum faster on the desk, betraying adrenaline. He's still in control. Or trying to be. Seth has taken the energy, reshaped it, made it his. The host who always holds the cards is suddenly on someone else's turf. Seth glances at the audience, their eyes meeting his with the look of people witnessing something unscripted, unpredictable. He nods slightly, feeding off their energy. The lights catch his face, casting half in shadow. Jimmy clears his throat, adjusts his tie, trying to reset the room. "That's cute," he says, voice steady but less relaxed. "You came ready." Seth shrugs easy, measured. "I thought you might." The crowd roars again. Jimmy's eyes flick to the cameras, then back to Seth. For a moment, they just stare. Two veterans of the same battlefield, trading blows with smiles and jokes. But underneath, it's pure strategy. No one moves. No one breathes too loudly. Then Jimmy leans forward. Seth mirrors him. The studio lights flare, heat radiating off the desk like a storm start. The room's pulse tightens, drawing toward these two men. It's not about who's funnier anymore. It's about control, presence, who can command the crowd with a look, a pause, a perfectly timed line. Jimmy exhales through his nose, steady, acting unfazed. Seth tilts his head, that faint, dangerous smirk still there. The room hums with unscripted energy. The invisible tension of two performers daring each other to flinch first. The cameras zoom in, lights spilling over their faces, reflections dancing in their eyes. The laughter fades, replaced by something sharper. The battle has truly begun. The tension hasn't eased. The studio buzzes with restless energy, half laughter, half anticipation. Jimmy leans forward, grin returning, eyes glinting again. "You know," he says, fingers tapping lightly on the desk. "I think it's only fair I get a comeback." He signals the control booth with a quick wrist flick, like a general calling for fire. "Roll it." The monitors light up again. A grave, self-righteous voice takes over. Seth Meyers has always been a bad guy. The screen cuts to a childhood photo of Seth, awkward, gap-toothed, mid-blink. As a kid, he wouldn't let his little brother play Star Wars with him. Laughter erupts, filling the studio. Jimmy sits back, smiling wider as the video continues. "You don't have a good enough imagination," a voice says, and the crowd realizes it's Seth's real, life brother, Josh Meyers, against a fake interview backdrop. speaking with mock sincerity. And I should know, because I'm his brother, Josh. Seth Meyers doesn't deserve an Emmy. Jimmy Kimmel does. Jimmy Kimmel's more a brother to me than my own. The crowd loses it, clapping, whistling, laughing so hard it turns into a chant. Jimmy's laughing too, his face glowing under the lights. He's not just landed a joke, he's landed a betrayal, a personal one, and everyone feels it. Seth freezes for a moment, not from shock but disbelief. Then, slowly, he looks at Jimmy, eyes narrowing, voice low, deliberate. You used my own brother against me, you cold-blooded snake. The audience howls, loving the mock venom in his tone. Jimmy raises his hands in fake innocence. Hey, he volunteered. He says, fighting through laughter. But Seth's already moving. He doesn't blink, doesn't flinch. He smirks. Fine. He says softly. If we're doing family, let's talk about yours. The crowd gasps, then bursts into fresh laughter. Jimmy sits up, alert, a spark of unease crossing his face. Seth glances at the crew. Roll it. The screen lights up brighter, sharper. The audience quiets just long enough to hear the first line. Jimmy Kimmel may seem like a fun guy on TV, but his home life's a mess. The crowd erupts. On screen, a woman stands, arms crossed, in a staged bedroom. It's Jimmy's wife, her voice thick with mock exhaustion. He's got 14 pairs of readers on his nightstand. 14. Who needs that many? The guy can't even read. And don't start me on the Splenda packets he leaves everywhere. Seth Meyers drinks his coffee black, just like Jimmy's soul. The punchline detonates. The laughter turns into applause, people wiping their eyes, some standing, some slapping armrests. Jimmy's laughing too, but sweat beads along his hairline. He claps his hands, mock surrender. Okay, he says between laughs, that's too good. But Seth stays still, one eyebrow raised, the faintest smirk on his lips. The camera catches the contrast. Jimmy animated, loud, riding the laughter, Seth composed, radiating quiet control. For a few seconds, the room is Seth. The laughter lingers, fading only when Jimmy's voice cuts through. You think you can outdo me? He asks, half teasing, half daring. Seth tilts his head, eyes locked on Jimmy's, voice smooth as glass. No, he says, every word deliberate. I already have. The crowd roars, laughter spilling into applause that won't stop. Jimmy forces a grin, but his eyes admit the truth. He knows it too. For the first time, he's not driving the show. The lights burn brighter, reflecting in their eyes. The host and the challenger, locked in an unspoken duel under the crowd's roar. The laughter fades, but the tension holds, electric, alive. Seth Meyers now owns the stage. The air stays thick, humming with chaotic laughter. Jimmy straightens his jacket, a faint gleam of sweat on his brow, but his grin is wide, confident. He's not giving up. If anything, he's just warming up. All right, he says, pretending to wipe a tear of laughter. You got your shot, Seth. But I'm not finished. His tone dips, playful but sharp. Let's roll the next one. The monitors flare again, the crowd cheering before they know what's coming. The same deep, mock-serious narrator returns. Seth Meyers has always been a bad guy. The screen flickers to old photos. Seth is a kid, squinting awkward, weaponized on national TV. As a kid, he wouldn't let his little brother play Star Wars with him. Laughter ripples through the room. Jimmy feels the energy building, leaning back like a man watching his plan unfold perfectly. Then the voice seals it. You don't have a good enough imagination, says a man off-screen. The crowd pauses, then gasps when they recognize Josh Meyers, Seth's brother, pretending to give a heartfelt testimonial. And I should know, because I'm his brother Josh. Seth Meyers doesn't deserve an Emmy. Jimmy Kimmel does. Jimmy Kimmel's more a brother to me than my own. The crowd explodes, clapping, stomping, howling. It's the biggest laugh yet. Jimmy leans forward, laughing so hard he slaps the desk. More of a brother than his own. He repeats, savoring it. Seth freezes, his expression unreadable, like a statue in perfect stillness. Then, slowly, his mouth curves upward. He looks at Jimmy, voice quiet, dangerous. You used my own brother against me, he says, cutting through the laughter like glass. You cold-blooded snake. The crowd screams with laughter, half at the line, half at the audacity. Jimmy wipes his eyes, still laughing, pretending he's in control. Hey, I didn't make him do it. He came to me, he says between breaths. Seth doesn't break his stare. Calmly, he shifts toward the control booth. Fine, he says. If we're doing family, let's talk about yours. The room gasps, like a grenade just rolled across the stage. Jimmy's laugh dies mid-breath. Wait, what? He starts, but it's too late. Seth gestures, small but precise. Roll it. The screen flickers, a woman appearing in soft lighting, her expression wary but glamorous. Jimmy Kimmel may seem like a fun guy on TV, she says, voice thick with mock frustration, but his home life's a disaster. The audience cracks up. Jimmy's eyes widen as the woman continues, waving her hands around a messy bedroom. He's got 14 pairs of reading glasses on his nightstand. 14. Who needs that many? The guy can't read that much. And don't get me started on the Splenda he leaves everywhere. Seth Meyers drinks his coffee black, just like Jimmy's soul. The final line explodes. The crowd loses it. People doubled over, slapping their knees, gasping for air. Seth sits motionless, calm, letting the chaos unfold. Jimmy laughs too, but his face glistens under the lights. His voice cracks as he speaks. Okay, he says, raising his hands in surrender. That's low, man. You went for the coffee. Seth doesn't move, letting the applause rise and fall, his silence louder than any punchline. The camera captures them perfectly. Jimmy loud, showy, nervous, Seth still, confident, victorious. Jimmy leans forward, squinting, half mock, half serious. You think you can outdo me? Seth doesn't blink, his voice soft, sure. No, he says. I already have. The audience roars, laughter turning into applause that won't die down. Jimmy forces a grin, but his eyes betray him. He knows he's not in control. The lights flare, reflecting in their eyes, the host and the challenger locked in a duel under the crowd's roar. The laughter fades, but the tension doesn't. It's electric, alive. Jimmy straightens, breathless but determined, his grin sharpening. He's got one last trick. The crowd senses it, hushing before the next round of chaos. All right, he says, voice rough from laughing. You got your hits, Seth, you're good. But I've saved one. Just one. He leans toward the control booth, half whispering, half commanding. Roll it. The screens burst to life for the 5th time, dramatic campaign music flooding the room, but the visuals are different, bright, almost innocent. The crowd leans forward, unsure. Then, small, trembling voices speak. Kids appear on screen, looking into the camera, faces serious like only children acting grown up can be. Seth Meyers and Jimmy Kimmel want Emmys more than they want us. A little girl says, her voice steady, heartbreaking in its mock sincerity. The audience explodes before the next line lands. Another child nods gravely. Would you give a trophy to a dad who doesn't care about anything else? We wouldn't. The laughter is manic, unstoppable. Jimmy's doubled over, smacking the desk. The absurdity, children as political casualties of late-night ambition, hits perfectly. The crowd loses their minds, shouting, clapping, wiping tears. Then the kicker appears in bold white letters, paid for by our emotional well-being. The laughter turns into cheers, shaking the rafters. Even the band claps, some pretending to cry, others holding instruments midair. The noise is wild, chaotic, alive. Seth leans back, hands folded, laughing now, but slower, softer, the laugh of someone witnessing the perfect punchline. Jimmy gasps, leaning over his desk, shaking his head. Okay, he manages between laughs. That went too far. He slumps back, half laughing, half exhausted, his victory grin gentler now. Seth glances at him, smile small but precise, voice calm, almost sympathetic. Maybe just far enough. The words land clean, final. The audience keeps laughing, but the tone softens, warmer. The energy shifts from battlecry to ovation. The two men sit side by side, laughing for real now. No pretense, no rivalry. Just shared exhaustion from masters who've pushed the game to its limit. For a moment, neither speaks. The room stays loud, but the camera catches a quieter flicker of understanding between them. A silent agreement written in sweat and smiles. They've turned a talk show into a comedy war and both survived. Jimmy wipes his face, still chuckling. You realize, he says, half to Seth, half to himself, we just traumatized fake kids for ratings. Seth laughs real and light. Worth it, he says. The studio roars one last time, applause filling every inch. The lights blaze, cameras zooming in slowly, their faces lit by the same glow. Both tired, exhilarated, victorious in their own way. For a heartbeat, it's not competition anymore, it's respect. Two comedians, two craftsmen in the aftermath of their beautiful madness. The laughter fades, leaving a shimmer of warmth from a fair fight and flawless finish. Jimmy glances sideways, still smiling. Seth meets his look, nodding once. The camera holds the moment, lights soft on their faces, a silent nod between rivals. Then the credits roll amid the audience's laughter. For the first time, everything feels still. The applause stretches on, echoing like the final rumble after a storm. Jimmy and Seth sit side by side, catching their breath, the heat of the lights softening. The night's chaos settles into something quieter: exhaustion, satisfaction, shared relief. Jimmy leans back, hand on his chest, laughter fading into breathy chuckles. That, he says, pointing across the desk, was wild. His tone carries no edge now, only admiration. Seth grins, calm as ever. You started it, he reminds him, voice low, steady, blending humor and victory. The crowd loves it, laughing again, but gentler, more like applause. Jimmy shakes his head. I can't believe we did that. You, me, the fake wife, the kids, your brother. He trails off, laughing. We might have gone too far. Seth nods, tilting his head. Maybe, but it was worth it. His tone is soft, almost thoughtful. The war's over, and they both know it. The audience settles, the band playing a light riff, like a deep exhale after something huge. Jimmy adjusts his jacket, clears his throat, and faces the crowd, his smile warm, familiar. The host back in command, but softer now. Ladies and gentlemen, he says, Seth Meyers, everybody. The room erupts one final time. Seth stands, shaking Jimmy's hand, firm, sincere, no longer competitive. Their laughter overlaps, easy, real. For a second, they hold each other's gaze. Two men who fought with timing, wit, and showmanship. The lights soften, catching their eyes. The moment lingers, almost cinematic. The audience keeps clapping, unwilling to let it end. Seth leans closer, just enough for the mic to catch. You survived, he says with a small smile. Jimmy smirks. Barely. They both laugh. The last laugh earned. The band swells, cameras pan wide, framing the hosts against the glowing set. Calm after the storm. The clapping slows, fading into a gentle rhythm like gratitude. As the credits roll, Jimmy turns to Seth, softer, no performance in his voice. Good game, he says quietly. Seth nods. Always is. Thanks for watching. The lights dim, and for a heartbeat everything is still. The sound, the crowd, the tension dissolving into one final image, two masters at peace in the afterglow of the chaos they created together.